For the record, my name is Henry Santana, City Councilor at Large, and I am the Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Education. Today is October 3rd, 2024. This hearing is being recorded. It is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-tv and broadcasted on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, Files Channel 964. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.education@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all counselors. Public testimony will be taken at the end of this hearing. Individuals will be called on in the order in which they signed up and will have 2 minutes to testify. If you are interested in testifying in person, please add your name to the sign-up sheet near the entrance of the chamber. If you are looking to testify virtually, please email our Central Staff Liaison, Shane Pack, at shane.pack@boston.gov for the link, and your name will be added to the list. Today's hearing is on docket number 0197, order for a hearing to address the mental health needs of our students with a focus on guidance counselors. This matter was sponsored by Council President Rusi Lujan and Councilors Gabriela Calera Zapata and Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson, and was referred to the committee on January 24, 2024. Today, I am joined by my colleagues in order of arrival. Council President Rusi Lujan, who's the lead sponsor, Councilor Aaron Murphy, Councilor Liz Braden, and Councilor Julia Mejia. We also received a letter of absence from Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson, who is an original co-sponsor. I will read her letter into the record. Dear Mr. Chair, thank you for holding this hearing. I regret to inform you that I will be unable to attend this afternoon's hearing on docket number 0197, a hearing to address the mental health needs of students with a focus on guidance counselors. A member of my staff will be listening in, taking notes, and following up as necessary. Thank you for your understanding. Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. Before we begin, I'd like to just ask folks to please silence their phones and devices. I'd like now to provide an overview of the panelists, the committee, of the panelists that we have here, and then I'll open up the floor for the lead sponsors, original co-sponsors, and our colleagues to provide opening remarks if desired. With us here today, we have Mandy Savitz-Romer, professor at Harvard Graduate School of Education, Jody Fenn, school counselor at Boston Green Academy, Valdovino Gonzalez, student development counselor at New Mission and O'Brien, Andrea Encarnaco Martin, school counselor at Boston Lions School. Great. I'd like to hand the floor over now to the lead sponsor and original co-sponsor for opening remarks. Council President Lujan, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just really grateful that you all could join me. This is a hearing order that I filed last term that we did not have a hearing on, but it's a topic that matters a great amount to me and that I've talked to you all on an individual level about. And so school counselors are just so important for the development of our young kids. Outside of the classroom, there's so much work that needs to happen for our young kids and making sure that we're triaging the news that they're coming into the school with every single day. And you all do that. And so I want to thank you for your service. I think I was talking to Mrs. E before. This is something that matters deeply to me as a daughter of parents who didn't go to college and who went to school, trying to think about what my future would look like. That would not have been possible without my guidance counselor, who I know we're school counselor is the term that we're using. And so I want to shout out my school counselor, Ms. Sylvester, but also knowing that school counselors often have caseloads that are really, really hard to manage. And so I want to have this hearing because we have both practitioners and people who have written books and who have studied this issue. I want to thank you, Mandy, for making the time. I know today is Rosh Hashanah. Happy Rosh Hashanah. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to make this happen. I know you're coming straight from synagogue, so we really do appreciate it. We need to make sure that our kids have all the school-based support that they can in order to excel. It doesn't happen, especially among our student populations, low-income folks, people of color, people with disabilities, English language learners who need as much support as we can give them. And so this is really about us getting this right. I know BPS has this Venn diagram. Is it a Venn diagram if there are three? Well, you guys can tell me. Okay. All right. Okay, good. That really, I think, does an exceptional job of telling us the role of the counselor, the social worker, and the school psychologist and how they overlap. And I also know that there's a lot more to your work than just that can fit on this Venn diagram. So looking forward to this conversation, how what you tell us can inform how we advocate for what our school communities need to BPS. So I want to thank you. I want to thank my colleagues for being here, my co-sponsors, and BPS. I know Caitlin, you're pretty new as the Executive Director of School Counselors here in the city of at Boston Public Schools. So welcome. Thank you for coming. And I hope that this is a conversation that we can all learn from and think about how do we just show up in the best possible way to make sure that our kids have college and career paths that they probably couldn't even dream of. So that's what we wanted. That's what I want to do and accomplish here today. Thank you.
Thank you, President Eugene. Moving to our second original co-sponsor, Councilor Coletta Zapata, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Santana. Thank you to my lead co-sponsor. Madam President, I apologize that I was late. We had a hearing earlier that went over, so I had to eat something, but super excited to be here. I'm going to keep it brief and just shout out to all of you for the work that you do. I really look forward to learning your perspective and understanding how we can be helpful in getting you the resources and support that you need to support our kids. Of course, I have to shout out my own guidance counselor at Latin Academy, Counselor Gleason, who saw something in me before anybody else did, and so he helped set up various leadership courses for me, and really thank him for that and appreciate him. So I'll leave it at that and just look forward to the conversation. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta Zapata. I just want to note that some of our panelists have hard stops due to family commitments. With that said, at this time, I'd like to offer my other colleagues to make opening remarks in order of arrival, and then we'll proceed with opening remarks from our first panel. Councilor Erin Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the panelists for being here. Looking forward to the hearing. It says to address the mental health needs. I know that the lead sponsor was just focusing on like college readiness. I know as a former BPS teacher, elementary level, guidance counselors, their role, is the IEP testing, making sure they're at the IEP meetings, the difference between that and a social worker and all of the other mental health needs and supports that we're giving or need to give, I think is an important conversation, and to be very clear about what role and who is trained and prepared to offer the needs we know are abundant in all of our schools. At the high school level, it's very different. A guidance counselor is mostly helping with course selection, if it's college applications, life after high school, all of those other needs. So just making sure or hoping that after this conversation, we as a body leave here with, the language and the understanding of like the different, supports that so many give. And we know that our lunch monitors and nurses and secretaries are giving so much social and emotional support also. But what can we do on the council to support, especially going into hearings with the Ways and Means and making sure we are ready for next year's budget cycle about supporting, which the one thing we can do is advocate with finances and resources to all of our schools. So looking forward to that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Liz Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the interest of time, I know folks have a hard stop. I will keep my comments very brief. Just thank you all for being here. I look forward to learning much more about the role of the school counsellors and guidance counsellors in BPS, and look forward to learning more. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilor Julia Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for being here. I don't know, you know that song, Last Night a DJ Saved My Life? right? Old school spending here. But I would have to say that that's what happened with my guidance counselor. Like, she literally set me on a path, and I do see a beautiful mix of the role. It's not just to guide young people into, college or career. I really do think that the work that you all do really also addresses some of the mental health and wellness concerns of our students, and I think that there is a beautiful intersection of the work that you are doing to support young people, and I look forward to learning what that looks like for you in this era. This was like in the 80s when that happened to me, but I'll just say that my guidance counselor, I used to skip a lot of school. After dropping out, going back, and one day my guidance counselor went to the place where I was playing hooky and working, and she brought me back to school, and she didn't have to do that. And those are the sort of things that I think that oftentimes gets lost in conversations about the work that you do and the impact that you make. And so just really grateful on the onset just to have the conversation, and I'm very curious to hear what the intersection of the mental health and wellness looks like for you all, so that we can fight for that in next year's budget cycle.
Great. Thank you, Councillor. I'd like to acknowledge at this time that we've been joined by Councillor Sharon Durkin and also Councillor John Fitzgerald. Councillor Durkin, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair. Really appreciate everyone's presence here today, and appreciate this particular focus and the lead sponsors for focusing on school counselors. I think this is so important, and I think the work of school counselors and BPS staff is just so incredibly important, and has one of the biggest, could have the biggest impact too, as we think of how we want to influence funding and everything. So just so excited to learn more, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Councillor John Fitzgerald, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, panel, for being here in the essence of time. I apologize for my tardiness, but I look forward to this panel and the conversation and to learning more. So thank you all for being here.
Great. Thank you to all my colleagues. For our first panel today, we have our community panelists. For the panelists who are here today, I'd like to ask each of you to just state your name for the record, and then please proceed with opening remarks. I just kindly ask that in order to allow time for councilors' questions and discussion, that you please limit your opening statements to 5 minutes per panelist, particularly as I know some of our panelists have hard stops in order to attend family matters. If you have a preferred order of speak, please proceed, and we can just start from one end. So thank you so much for being here, and you have the floor.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Valdivino Gonzalez, and I'm a school counselor at the John D. O'Brien School of Mathematics and Science, also my alma mater. I've worked at the O'Brien for the last 5 years, but this happens to be my 13th year as a school counselor in the Boston Public Schools, having previously worked at New Mission High School in Hyde Park for the first 8 years of my career. I'm here today because I absolutely love my job and role as a school counselor, and I believe that it is the best job in education and in a school building. I'm obviously a bit biased because that is the role in which I sit in and act in each and every day, but I also recognize that many people, although most people went to and graduated from high school, don't fully understand the role of the school counselor, or perhaps have an antiquated understanding of what school counselors do or are supposed to do. Firstly, I want to recognize that we are no longer called guidance counselors. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education officially recognizes the formal title of school counselor since at least 2017, as developed by the American School Counselor Association as early as 2002. Guidance counselors focus primarily on vocational guidance, like college and career counseling, schedule changes, etc., whereas school counselors are integral members of the school community focused on 3 primary domains or areas, including academic counseling. So this can include, obviously, schedule changes, but more importantly, course placement, the importance of the grade point average, and college and access lessons in the classroom. College and career readiness is another domain area. So college counseling, building college lists, reading college essays, writing letters of recommendation, and more. And also social emotional development and counseling. So although we are not therapists, we are the primary staff members who students come to for academic concerns, college and career questions, and mental health concerns. As Tier 1 educators, many student concerns come to us first, and depending on the need and level of concern, we may refer to a social worker, to a school psychologist, to an administrator who can provide more clinical and therapeutic support. I also think while it is important to note that we are not social workers, our roles do sometimes overlap, but there are many, many unique and key differences, many of which I've outlined and will outline here today. At the O'Brien, for example, I work very closely with our social workers and oftentimes collaborate with and consult on our shared student cases. And we often have meetings where we're tag teaming the student we're both meeting with the student at the same time. However, I don't provide therapy during my counseling sessions, and our social workers do not provide academic or college counseling support in their sessions with students. To me, that's a very important distinction. Finally, I want to highlight an idea that I read about in Dr. Mandy Savage-Romer's book, and I promise I did not know she was going to be here today. But her book is entitled Fulfilling the Promise, Reimagining School Counseling to Advance Student Success, and I definitely recommend you all read it if you haven't already. In her book, Dr. Savage-Romer refers to the academic home, or the notion that school counselors serve as the academic home for students, much like primary care physicians serve as the medical home for their patients. At school, students see their school counselors first. For more intense or specialized care, like therapy perhaps, school counselors can refer to a social worker, administrator, psychologist, etc., much how like a PCP will refer to a specialist, like a cardiologist, an oncologist, an OBGYN, and so on and so forth. The PCP is still the primary contact, the one who coordinates the services and the one the patient has the primary contact with, as well as a trusting relationship with. As school counselors, the idea of the academic home is very similar. We follow and track the students, and I'm speaking from a high school perspective because I've only worked in a high school, but we follow and track the student up until graduation, but along the ride, they may see other educators and other clinicians or specialists who also help them along the way. I'm a huge advocate and proponent for school counselors and the school counseling profession. We are the glue that holds many of our schools and students together. The role is very multifaceted, and we are very involved in a myriad of student-facing and non-student-facing tasks at the school level, from scheduling and course placement, participating in school preview days, orienting new students. At the O'Brien, we're getting new students in October, and we can talk about why, but that's a whole nother conversation. Providing mental health supports and conducting suicide risk assessments. I did 3 in the month of September alone with my social work colleagues. College counseling, writing letters of recommendation, resume support, summer planning, and the list goes on and on and on. I just want to ensure that all educators, politicians, and stakeholders, including students and their families, because sometimes even students and their families don't fully understand what we do. But my goal is to help them fully understand what we do and how we can support students from kindergarten to life. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. My name is Andrea Encarnacio Martin, and I'm a proud school counselor at Boston Latin School. I come before you today on behalf of the school counselors in the City of Boston, many of whom are wrapping up their school day in the next hour. I speak from my own experience as a school counselor who has been in the Boston Public Schools since 2004. In the past 20 years, a journey that I began with 2 years at another course to college and now BLS, I've counseled, coached, and listened with an open heart and mind to thousands of young people. It has truly been an honor and privilege. Our young people are fabulous. They are resilient, inspiring, funny, intelligent, and passionate. I've learned from them along the way, and I'm full of gratitude for all they have taught me. As many of you may remember, I came before you in February of 2023 when I was named the Massachusetts School Counselor of the Year. I was recognized before the council by Councilor Coletta and President Ruthie Lujan. Boston has had 2 School Counselors of the Year in the past 5 years, Jessica Descartes, who's at Boston Tech, and I'm hopeful that among my excellent colleagues, we will have more. And after the selection and announcement of this recognition, I had several former students who reached out to me and shared their words of gratitude and praise. One shared, you're one of the reasons I am an educator today. I was going through so much in high school, and I remember that your office was a safe space. I vividly remember feeling like it was the end of my world sometimes on my way to your office and then walking out feeling better. Finishing BLS somehow wouldn't have been possible without your support. Your encouragement for me to go to college and your belief that I could succeed meant so much to me. Your empathy and dedication was uplifting and inspiring, especially in a time when I didn't have that coming from any of my teachers. You were such an amazing role model. I share this to demonstrate the impact, as well as the details of what we do as school counselors. The joy of being a school counselor is that no day is ever the same. Students come by to share their joys. I got into college, or I cooked on that Spanish test today. They will share personal stories where they were trying to help a friend or support a family member. They come into our office in tears, overwhelmed by the world or challenges they face. They come to us to plan their post-secondary options and set goals for the next term in their academic life. One of the things I've come to learn in this role is that collaboration and relationships are key. I absolutely love connecting young people with the village that we have, including my own personal village. I believe that we all can connect with one another, and so whenever a young person mentions an idea for a future that they dream of, I think about how I can connect them, be it through an experience that I am aware of, scholarship, job opportunity, or mentor in that space. Helping them to see their world is smaller than we may think through connections and networking fills me with joy. They are not alone. We need more counselors in our schools, and it should start in our elementary schools. School counselors are integral members of the school community. We are the point of contact for many parents and caregivers. We work closely with our colleagues to support our students to the best of our abilities, and we also work with administrators, outside organizations, caregivers, and of course, our students. We are on the front lines in the education space, and we are Tier 1 support that every student deserves. Being a parent during the pandemic, I saw firsthand how challenging it was for our young people to thrive in a world where they logged onto their computer and peered through a screen to learn. One of my own children struggled online. She did not want to put her camera on, and her teacher was worried about her. But she is a young person who needed to build relationships first. So how was she going to do this on the screen with teachers that she had never met in person? As we continue to experience the aftershocks of the global pandemic, we see anxiety, depression, and social challenges. Together with my colleagues, we do our very best to support the young people in front of us. But we need more. Yes, academic rigor and demonstrating knowledge on the MCAS are part of the curriculum. Still, we need to know that our school counselors are essential to our student outcomes, that school counselors help to access the whole child when then they can learn and thrive. In the words of the American School Counselors Association, an integral part of the total education system, school counselors help students form healthy goals, mindsets, and behaviors. With the aid of a school counselor, students learn to develop effective collaboration and cooperation skills, to practice perseverance, to develop time management and study skills, and to learn self-motivation and self-direction habits. School counselors are not only nice to have in our schools, we are necessary.
Thank you, members of the City Council, for having me here today. My name is Jody Then, and I'm a school counselor at Boston Green Academy, which is a non-selective lottery-based inclusion school of 430 students, where 34% of our students have an IEP, closer to 50% of our students if you consider those of the 504 plan, and 17% are English language learners. I'm also part of the School Counselor Faculty Senate and have been a school counselor in Boston Public Schools for 8 years. Prior to that, I was an education advisor for a federal college access program, which is where we met, where I partnered with Boston Public Schools to provide admissions and financial aid support to students and families. I have worked in or with Boston Public Schools for 21 years. School counselors are a vastly misunderstood and underutilized resource in schools. We have a 360-degree view of how a school operates. We are teachers who give lessons to classrooms full of students, thereby needing to utilize classroom management systems, provide engaging activities, and track growth. We are mental health counselors who comfort students when they are stressed over their chemistry grade or because they are unhoused. We are administrators who push for additional AP classes and help design school-wide systems. We are parent liaisons who encourage families to send their child to a week-long college prep program out of state and then comfort families until their child returns. And we're career counselors who help students plan for their lives after high school, even at the elementary level. There are a few individuals at a school who can step into our roles, yet we are often called to step into theirs because of our expertise and skill. School counselors, particularly those at the middle and high school levels, have a distinctly academic focus to their work. Mental health and academic success go hand in hand. However, most of the narrative post-pandemic has centered around how mental health has had a negative impact on academic success. MCAS scores are down, college enrollment rates are declining, and chronic absenteeism has been at an all-time high. Not much has been said about how academic success impacts mental health. When students feel successful and capable at school, their mental health improves. They come to school more. They form relationships with peers and staff. School counselors are responsible for helping students access classes that they are interested in, find programs that they are passionate about, and along the way discover who they are as human beings. Through school, we help students find their purpose and ultimately help students develop positive self-efficacy and improved mental health. I am lucky in that at Boston Green Academy, we have 3 school counselors, one for grades 7 and 8, one for grades 9 and 10, and I support students in 11 and 12. I'm able to spend quality time with my students and know almost all 170 of them pretty well. However, when I first started at BGA, I was the only counselor for grades 9 through 12. Over 300 students were on my caseload, and I taught 8 class periods a week. Delivering college and career lessons to 4 grades was impossible. Running groups, managing attendance, and student check-ins mostly took a back seat to schedule changes, college applications, and teaching. 3 years ago, we added a counselor for students in grades 9 and 10. Now that I have half the caseload and 1 less class, every student receives social emotional lessons and advisories, career lessons and classes, and as someone to check in with them when they are struggling. We can now confidently state that with an additional school counselor, every student is served. And our data reflects this. Over the last 3 years, our daily attendance rate has increased 1% every year, and we're currently at 89%. Chronic absenteeism is declining, decreasing by 3% and 5% each year, and only 89 students have been referred for individual counseling versus 150 last year. This data proves that a comprehensive school counseling program works. In addition to being a BPS educator, I'm also a BPS parent. My children have attended schools ranging from turnaround schools to exam schools. Both of my children had access to mental health counseling at their elementary schools, yet none of my children had a school counselor. My oldest, now at an exam school, still struggles with executive functioning and time management. And no, he doesn't let me help him with that because nobody listens to their mother. My youngest, who attends a pilot school, has stronger student habits, but will not step out of his comfort zone and prefers to come straight home rather than join a club or run for student government or, heaven forbid, stay for homework club. I can't help but think if they had a school counselor at the younger grades, they might be in different places along their educational journey. Maybe I wouldn't have to pull crumpled papers from my 8th grader's bag or worry that my 7th grader is lonely. Maybe they would have been directed towards programs or opportunities to help them grow. Maybe now that they are in schools that have school counselors, they will. School counselors are agents of change. We have our finger on the pulse of schools in a way that no other staff person does. When given reasonable caseloads, utilized appropriately, and valued as an important part of a school system, we can move the needle. We can affect change. We do make a difference. And not only do we need more of us, we need to be supported and developed the same way that teachers, social workers, and nurses are. We need opportunities for professional development and for professional growth, career opportunities beyond just changing schools or becoming a school leader, mentorships, opportunities to attend conferences and even present at them. We need more of us, and we need more. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. My name is Mandy Savitz-Romer, and I am a Boston resident and Boston Public Schools parent. I'm also a faculty member at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, where I teach, research, and write about school counseling. So this pleases me very much, and not just because Val Davino promoted my book, but I write about, and I work with school districts across the country, all regarding school counseling and student support systems. Finally, I'm a former BPS school counselor, having started my career at Brighton High School. So I'm here today specifically to testify to the important role of school counselors and the key role they play in supporting students' mental health and the mental health challenges that are facing our communities across the city. I believe that we need more attention and resources needed to ensure that all young people, regardless of the school they attend, have access to high-quality counseling supports. Here in Boston, just as in communities across the country, we are grappling with how schools can address and adapt to the threats to mental health that are facing our young people. These mental health concerns have only been exacerbated by the academic challenges brought on by the pandemic, the increasing racialized violence and political divisions in our society, and uncertainty about their future and the sustainability of our climate. The psychological distress that young people are experiencing has left many school leaders and educators scratching their heads, wondering how, on top of the existing pressures already facing schools, can we respond to this new reality? Fortunately, most schools, not all, in the city of Boston have school counselors on their faculties who, as frontline staff and training in counseling and mental health, are well poised to help. From my work nationally, I can attest to the fact that in many parts of the country, school counselors are leading this work. They are utilizing screening tools such as the Signs of Suicide program to identify depression and suicidal thoughts. They provide classroom and school-level interventions to address everything from reducing stigma around mental health to providing students coping skills and healthy mindsets and how to manage their emotions. They collaborate with teachers and they lead the way in identifying appropriate classroom interventions such as trauma-sensitive instructional practices. And in many districts, school counselors are centrally involved in referring students to outside providers and school-based social workers for intensive one-on-one counseling. And these are just a few examples of how school counselors are being deployed to address students' mental health needs in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools around the country. Unfortunately, the Boston Public Schools have been unable to shift to this more modern vision of school counseling. I believe this is due to a lack of attention to the systemic features that are needed to bring our professionals into the next century, and an absence of dedicating resources needed to make this shift happen. Indeed, there are pockets of this new visioning happening in Boston. You've heard it today, but not systematically across the district. My work in Boston, which has always been in service to establishing stronger systems, reveals that counselors in many of our schools are stuck in an outdated model of guidance counseling, not because they don't want to realize the new vision, but because there hasn't been a genuine intensive investment in counseling reform. I'm delighted the district has recently invested in an executive director of school counseling, Caitlin Gilligan, who I know is ready and poised to lead this work. And this is an essential step towards realizing the transformed school counselor identity that appears in other districts and that all young people deserve, given the realities of their lives today. Our young people need and deserve a modern conception of school counseling, not the one that was introduced in 1960s that only emphasized vocational guidance and wasn't dealing with gender identity, racialized violence, dealing with pressures of college admissions. That was a different role, and for us to expect professionals to continue with that role is not fair to young people or their families. The current professional school counselor continues to provide post-secondary readiness counseling along with mental health support. That means talking to young people about what they see for themselves in their future and why they see they might not be able to do that. That means talking with students and finding out why they're not coming to school and going and getting them when needed and making sure they have a plan for their future. Rather than providing direct treatment or therapy, a role that's best met by community-based therapists and social workers, they engage in short-term, solution-focused counseling that helps students manage mental health stressors so they can thrive in schools. But they need the time and the training to engage in those conversations with youth about their identity and how to manage the range of feelings that they tend to experience every day. However, bringing this vision to Boston will not happen without targeted action and additional resources. To leverage counselors in these new ways, there must be funding dedicated to counseling in Boston that supports their leadership, these role changes, and all the other systemic supports that we know will benefit students and their families. In short, the city needs to make a systemic investment in school counseling. This includes staffing that reduces caseloads, training that is supported by school leaders, relief from administrative duties such as test proctoring, class coverage, and lunchroom duties, and guidance for our school leaders to champion this new vision of school counseling. I thank you, City Councilors, for taking up this issue, one that is deeply, deeply important to me, and especially to Councilor Louis Jean for initiating this. Your consideration for what all students in Boston should have access to in terms of student support is critically important to their future, and I believe the future of our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our panelists for being here. At this point, I'd like to acknowledge that we've been joined also by Councilor Enrique Pepen and Councilor Ed Flynn. I'm going to turn it over to my councilors, to my colleagues, in order of arrival to ask questions. I do want to make it clear, right? I think we have a hard stop for 2 of our panelists at 3 p.m.
I'm okay till 3:30.
Okay. Well, at any point, if you do have hard stops, please feel free to move forward with that. But I'd like to now invite the lead sponsor and original co-sponsors to begin with a round of questions for the panel, and then I will turn the floor over to my colleagues in order of arrival. With that, Council President Louis Jean, you have the floor for our first round of questions.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for what you do every day for our students and for your valuable testimony. It's just very clear. I think this is a fantastic chart that BPS produced, but so much of your work, I think, Val, as you were mentioning, goes beyond what we can even synthesize in these circles here, really providing a map for how school counselors work with social workers and school psychologists. Mandy, I take from what you said, time and training are probably the most important thing. And time being, how do we reduce the guidance counselor to student to guidance counselor ratio so that you have more time to spend with our kids. And the second being, and I think that you talked about this too, Jody, how do we support those who are doing the supporting? And how do you support folks with training? How are we successfully doing that? And right now, I know that the recommended ratio is 250 students per guidance counselor. How are we doing right now across BPS? And then second is how close to this academic home model are we as a city? And if there are other cities that you think are doing a good job at that, and if whether you as guidance counselors, I take from your testimonies that you agree with this idea of being the academic home, and it makes sense. It's how, without the language, it's how I described my guidance counselor. It's how my school counselor, the new language, but that point of triage, that PCP, that is helping you identify what you need and what more support you can give. So how close are we? How well are we doing with that? And then on the time part, how are we missing the mark? Are we meeting the mark when it comes to the ratio?
You want to take it, Val? Go for it.
So I'll take a step at answering that. So I previously worked at New Mission High School, where I was one counselor in a school that started around 250 students, but by the time I left, it was closer to 400 or 500 students because the school was growing. But I do know that because I'm also part of the school counselor faculty senate, and the group that I'm a part of, we worked very closely with Superintendent Caselius at the time, the previous superintendent, and she made a capital investment to ensure that they would hire more counselors. And I believe 2 school years ago, they hired close to 30 school counselors. And so I'm at the O'Brien now, for example. When I started there, we had 5 school counselors, and I had a caseload of 320. We went up to 8 school counselors. Due to budget cuts, we're now back down to 7. My caseload this year is 230 students. So it does fit within that ASCA suggestion. So, and I also want to say it depends on the school, right? it depends on the school leader and whether the school leader wants to invest in a school counselor versus a social worker. They really should invest in both. But I will say over the course of the last few years, we are definitely getting closer. I also know that in our contract, there's specific language around a ratio, and it's looking at the average, right? So for example, if there are 100 school counselors in Boston Public Schools and 48,000 students, what is that average? And I think there's language around contract that probably should be looked at as well. But I do know that we are moving closer to that, to answer your question. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that.
Yeah, I do think it really does depend on the school too. And so here's just an example. One of my colleagues who is at the Holland, formerly the Jeremiah Burke, was one of 2 school counselors. One of the school counselors moved into a new role as a social worker, and the role of school counselor was not replaced. So my colleague now has a caseload of 400 or so students. That's problematic, but I think the real issue is that he now is charged with supporting students across grades 7 through 12. And the developmental and academic needs of students are so different from grade 7 than they are to grade 12. The solution has been to rely on outside partners, and that is a stopgap measure. It's a Band-Aid, because outside partners, while they are extremely helpful and a very big part of what we do, often they are beholden to their organization. And so there's only so much that they can provide for our students. And, you know, it's very challenging for one person to provide all the classroom interventions, tier 1 supports, check-ins, academic planning, MAP testing, you know, SATs, college applications for all those students.
I'd like to add something that may be slightly unpopular, and that is the caseload is important, but putting more counselors in an outdated role is not going to yield very different results. If you put more counselors into schools where the principals are not letting them do their jobs, that's not going to be better for students. So the caseload's important, and I appreciate the question. I think it's an important one, and they need to be low, but there's no evidence that a certain number is going to be linked. That is far too many, what Jody just described. It's also what happens when you have more work than you can do, besides becoming burned out because you can't do it. The things that you're held accountable for are the priority. And so counselors are not always held accountable for doing transition classes for the incoming 7th graders or the prevention programming that we know helps identify students at risk. They're going to do the things that get counted. They're going to make sure students are in their classes. They're going to make sure they file their applications. And so I believe that even as the district gets closer to the caseload, the question becomes around training and also district leadership. Can the counselors get the support they need in their schools? Many of the counselors told me when we did our study that yes, there's professional development out there, but they don't have the funds, the time, and in some cases the permission to attend. So I think that the devil's in the details a little bit in terms of, is it ratio, is it training? It's both.
It's also worth noting that all new teachers from the district receive a new teacher developer and a coach to help them grow into their role as a new teacher. School counselors do not receive that.
Thank you. I have 10 more questions, but I'll turn it over to my colleagues after I get one clarifying question as to what is the requirement for school counselors for pre-7th grade at BPS. I think this is also to your comment, Jody, that if your children had access to a counselor earlier in the academic career, is anyone aware? If not, I'll ask the next panel in terms of...
Most of our elementary schools do not have school counselors. Some do, but most don't. Okay. They may have social workers or other staff. I don't know if there's no state policy on this, and so it really is left to the discretion of the city.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll ask my questions on the second round.
Thank you, President Ujan. Councilor Calera Zapata, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for your amazing testimony and the work that you do every single day. Shout out to East D Zone, Mrs. E. I appreciate everything you do. I think I understood when you said I cooked on my chemistry test. I think the fact that you all have to keep up with lingo of Gen Z is like goes over my head, but I think I understood that, and it speaks to how comfortable the students are with you. You have to create a home within a home. And that really resonated with me and brought me back to high school and feeling very welcomed into our then guidance counselor's office, now school counselor's office. So understanding that some of you have a hard stop, I'll keep it short to 2 questions because some of my questions are really for BPS. but you had mentioned something about training for young adults who are going through gender identity shifts. What does that training look like for you all? And how do you feel as though your role can best support not only the young adult, but their families? And what can we be doing better as a district?
I would say that our professional development sometimes is on our own. You know, we, I think all of us are on the Massachusetts School Council Association, so we can get professional development through that organization when they have it. We do have school, like district-wide PD that's coming up this month. But yeah, in terms of that topic, I would say I haven't had any formal, you know, from the district, I would say, some of that definitely is much more through our own avenues of seeking out, you know, things that come up in as a school counselor and wanting to be, you know, to develop and be able to serve the students that we work with.
I can just say, I think the training that is needed is really for counselors to understand first, what are the policies at the district level? I think most schools, districts have policies around changing names, going by different genders. I think it's important that students feel comfortable telling a counselor when they don't feel comfortable in their own body, in their own skin, and being able to explore those topics. We live in a state where that's still allowed. And I think the training is really about ensuring that counselors are following the ethics of the profession. But I think I would echo what Andrew is saying in terms of it coming more from the national and professional organizations.
Well, it's clear we might have to do some work on the district level to make sure that you all have the tools that you need to have our young adults feel comfortable in coming to you and knowing how to fully address that when it comes across your doorstep. The second question that I have is just outlining relationships with principals. I understand it's a symbiotic relationship, and it varies per school, obviously, so not one experience isn't indicative or representative of all of the experiences of school counselors, but do you receive like a guiding benchmarks of success from your principals? Like how do you set a roadmap for you throughout the year in partnership with your principals, and are they even involved in that from the very beginning? This is just my edification. I don't know what it's like to do your job, but I'm just curious to understand what the relationship usually is with the principal.
I can answer that question. Having had really good relationships with many of the principals that I've worked with, but in my testimony I talked about just understanding the role. And even though I've had really good relationships with my school leaders, I'm not sure that they had a full understanding of what the role was, right? And you would see that in what you were tasked or asked to do. However, I will say that is probably, outside of directly working with students, the relationship with the principal is probably the most relationship that a school counselor can have with a colleague in their building, because the principal sets the tone and the tenor of the school and the priorities, right? And so at my previous school, I would have weekly meetings. Since I was the only counselor, I'd have weekly meetings with my principal around my role and sort of expectations and just check-ins, whether it was senior meetings, whatever it was. At my current school, we have something called the joint meeting. So we're a school of close to 1,500 students. 8 administrators, 7 school counselors, 4 social workers. And so in those joint meetings, it's joint meaning the administrative body of the school and the school counseling team. Because those are the 2 teams that really set priorities, operational goals, testing, the scheduling, all of that. And so we have those bi-monthly meetings in order to sort of talk about a sort of a scope and sequence, a calendar for what the year is looking like. Whenever we have questions that we need the administration to address, we bring it to those joint meetings. And so I think having those systems in place have been critical and important to our role. But again, I still feel as though there's a misunderstanding of the role. And I think, and I've talked to, Mandy, Dr. Savitz-Romer about this around just training for school leaders, because they don't know what they don't know, right? And that's not their fault. And I think just like we need training, school leaders need training around the roles in their building, right? And it starts with school counselors.
Thank you, Chair.
Great. Thank you, Counselor. I'd like to now hand the floor over to my colleagues in order of arrival. Being mindful of the hard stops some of our panelists have, and we also have a second panel from the administration. I'd like to ask my colleagues to limit their time of the initial questions and the responses for my panelists to 4 minutes per counselor, including panelists' responses. Next up, we have Councilor Erin Murphy. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. And Mandy, you touched on it that there is no requirement at the elementary level, and the three of you are middle school, high school, active, social workers, school counselors, and so I'll always advocate that the strong foundation is so important, right? That we need to get more supports into our younger grades so that they're more equipped when they come up. This idea that they're only going to need a school counselor once they hit high school, especially when we know, and it was in the first opening comments, that your job isn't just to help fill out college applications. Obviously, it's always been so much more. So I think part of this conversation going forward is also not just looking at, the caseloads of our middle and high school level, but also prioritizing. It's not just investing in, but it's always a priority, right? If we're prioritizing things, then it will happen. So that's something I just want to put out there. And just knowing from my past life, you have a full caseload, and then you are pulled when there's a crisis or something that's needed. And so many times, if it was a school guidance counselor, a school therapist, someone who was actually delivering on IEP services, that there was this kind of misunderstanding that it's kind of like the school nurse. You can do everything, but you can't do everything. So, and I think you touched on it though too, Minnie, that it wouldn't just be the caseload, right? It's kind of this understanding at every level of what your expertise is, why we've invested to have, school counselors in our building. And then I think that along with that comes the respect of your schedule as important as like a classroom person's schedule. So no need to answer any questions there, but just wanted to put that out there. And this question also could be to BPS admin, but knowing that you're there every day working with the students, how successful do you think the $454 million in ESSER funds, which we know were not just to invest in academic setbacks, but also mental health supports? And what I was hearing coming off of last school year when school site councils were meeting to set this school year's budget and see which, which positions were going to stay, which were being cut. Many times it was what parents and family felt like we're cutting the budget when it was we were investing in these wonderful supports, and many of them may have been actual school therapists. They could have been the music teacher or a special art program, other things that were helping the social emotional supports for our students. So knowing now that that's gone, do you think, because we know from the recent MCAS scores that academically that investment for the academic setbacks did not help that way, how do you feel it supported their mental health supports? Because in many ways I think our students were affected more with the social emotional setbacks from the pandemic, and with BPS being remote, almost a full year longer than most other students or kids who were in Medco or private schools in BPS were back in person much sooner.
I do want to just apologize because I'm the one that has to excuse myself to pick up my daughter. But I just want to say thank you to you all for having this hearing, and thank you for having me here. And I apologize that I have to leave early.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Val.
I can speak to this a little bit. I think it's a little too soon to tell, quite honestly. We used some of our ESSER funds to fund 2 social work positions. And this is the first year that we don't have those social work positions. What we've done in lieu of that is tried to streamline the process and referrals for counseling and to spend more of our time in the school day implementing Tier 1 supports. So far, the data is showing that with school counselors sort of leading this, that less students are experiencing mental health crises, that we are actually able to, serve the mental health needs of our students through these Tier 1 and Tier 2 interventions. I don't know if we'll have a full picture of what the lack of 2 social workers will look like until later in the year.
Thank you.
I'll just echo your point about the elementary school counselors. I place graduate students in elementary schools in Cambridge and Somerville, and the work that they're doing also sets young people up to then take advantage of the services in middle and high school. But they
feel comfortable,
they understand that school is a place to let an adult know if they're not safe at home, if there isn't enough food at home, if their housing is insecure. And that happens a lot with teachers, but counselors are particularly attuned to identifying it and making sure that families have the resources they need.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Liz Braden. You have the floor.
Thank you, and thanks again for this wonderful testimony. You mentioned, and I really do resonate with the notion that your mental health is directly, it's a two-way street between your academic performance, and your academic performance impacts your mental health. When I was a young person, my dad died when I was 14, and I was a grade A student until that happened, and then my grades just went through the floor. And it really did knock your confidence. I think I spent the rest of my adult life trying to compensate for that. But anyway, you mentioned systemic features to move forward to a 21st century model of school counselling. Can you flag up what those particular features might look like?
Sure. I can give you some examples from other districts around the country. One is a stronger infrastructure at the district level. So right now our school counselors, because they work across academic, social, emotional, and career and college readiness, they work with lots of different departments at the district. They're also working with the districts that oversee housing, et cetera. And so stronger infrastructure at the district means that there are people there who can support principals, for example, when they're doing the counselor's evaluation. So counselor evaluations are often done by school leaders who've never been counselors. Stronger leadership at the district would mean that someone could come out and help that principal do an appropriate evaluation. More leadership means that the executive director can use data to give data to counselors identifying attendance issues, college and career readiness markers, and so that there's a robust sort of data transfer happening. And then I think that one of the things I'm seeing is that many districts have more than one person who's overseeing school counseling. They have specialists, an elementary school counseling specialist, a middle school specialist, and a high school specialist who can go out to the schools and act as coaches. The district invested a lot in literacy coaches and math coaches. Counselors would benefit from coaches because they themselves are also building systems at their schools. And so I think the systemic pieces include having some real guidelines for school leaders around how counselors should spend their time. That does require educating them, but it also requires making sure that the outside agencies, we have a number of community partners, we have school-based social workers. These are huge assets in our cities, but we also need to pay attention to how those systems work together. Are we sharing data? Are we meeting regularly? And that all takes time. All these things take time, and time is in short supply, as you heard today. But I think it's not just time to be present, it's time to build a coherent system so that students enter schools and know that there is a coherent set of people who are integrated and connected supporting me. And I think that's hard for counselors to build while they're also responding to all these things. And their school leaders can't build it because they don't know it. So I think that's where the district would benefit from more time and attention, much like we've seen in other kinds of initiatives like the arts expansion work or other initiatives at the city level.
And you mentioned Tier 1 supports. Can you give us some examples of what tier support, for folks who are listening, what Tier 1 supports look like?
Yeah, so Tier 1 supports are really for every student. So every student has a school counselor at our school. So, it's access to all. Everyone gets that same thing. Whereas Tier 2, it might be like groups or, a kind of a smaller number of students have that services. And then Tier 3, it's one-on-one, like they might have they might be on an IEP, so they might have services that they're pulled out. So that's kind of a little bit, you can add on, feel free to jump in. But those are kind of, when we say Tier 1, we're on the front lines, it's every student has that school counselor. For social, in our school, we have to refer students to see our social workers. So that's, another tier. It's not, everyone has the same access to that. If we go into classrooms, that would be Tier 1. So everyone is getting those services, everyone's getting that support.
Very good. Thank you. My time's up this time round. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Julia Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And I wanted to just say two things really quick. Kathy Guerin was my guidance counselor. It was a long time ago. You probably don't even know who she is, but I just want to say her name. Because of her, I'm here. Like literally, she redirected my entire life cycle, right? And so, and she spent some time at Brighton. And having worked with young people who are chronically absent before I walked into this space here, and in partnership with the Youth Development Network, which are focused on case management and really making sure that our kids are showing up to schools. And so Brighton is one of the sites, Madison Park, the Burke, and Charlestown. So when I think about high schools, I think about some of our highest need schools and thinking about the caseloads there. They may not have a lot of enrollment, but the need for guidance school counselors is really important. So I just want to say, I see you. I know it's Brighton. I know the demo. I was that kid. So like I know how important the work is there. That's probably why you wrote the book.
It is, quite honestly, it is. The whole intro is about everything I did wrong at Brighton High.
And that is why you are in this chamber right now. Because those who are living the realities and or doing the work are the best to inform us and what we need to be doing. And that's why I'm really grateful to my council colleagues who called for this hearing order, because then we have an opportunity to engage with the experts. So thank you. BPS Jala Esport, don't get jealous, but it's about them right now. So I am curious, and if we could just talk a little bit about, because times have changed since I was in high school, and what we have seen, especially after COVID, we've also seen a lot of young people who have come here from other countries, and they're carrying that trauma in their backpacks, right? So I want to focus a little bit around kind of like how are we closing both the academic needs, but also looking at the cultural competencies, right? Or the lack of understanding of acclimating to a new country, especially within the constructs that we are operating in when there's so much hostility towards immigrants. And so I'm just curious if you could just talk to us a little bit about kind of what have you seen and what are some of the best practices that we can lean into a little bit more as we continue to have these conversations.
Well, I would say, just yesterday I was talking with the students. Financial aid is kind of a big thing right now at my school when we're talking about college and career, and post-secondary planning. So working with one of my students yesterday, just the worry about how her family's gonna help, help her get to college and how she's going to find that money. So we have like the great partnerships that we have. We have a college advising fellow that's also being trained and working with us on financial aid. So I think the piece too, like I always think of relationships. So you want to build those relationships. You want to reach out to families in their native languages. We have talking points that we use often to connect with families and bringing families in when we can to work with them and answer their questions and making them feel like a part of the community. And yeah, I would say that's like one of the recent things too. I'm not sure.
What about the trauma? I always talk about the trauma in your backpacks. It's such a visual for me, but we carry so much of that when we're traveling from country to country, and just the journey here when they arrive into our schools. I'm just curious about what you see and what we should be mindful of.
I think the thing that I would,
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I think the thing I would be mindful of is that many young people are carrying trauma, whether they've recently immigrated here or they experienced a form of trauma in their community. And sometimes they're uncomfortable talking about it in schools because they feel like they're going to get in trouble or something. But what we're seeing, I've seen more nationally, is that counselors are deploying their teachers to kind of find and identify students. So an example that I like to share is some counselors in California following the wildfires gave all their teachers sentence stems to identify which families were now without homes or who woke up to a fire. Some of it is the counselors giving other staff tools like trauma-sensitive practices and instructional methods. Your counselors are the ones who are trained in mental health, and yet they may not be be able to provide all the direct service to students who've experienced trauma. So sometimes your counselors are providing professional development for teachers. Maybe it's educating teachers that when they see a child with their head down, it is not necessarily because they're blowing off a class. It may be because that's a sign of depression and other forms of trauma. So I think part of it is also making sure that the counselors in the schools have time to talk to teachers and also connect with students. Many students have been talking about walking out over protests regarding Israel and Gaza and Palestine, and many of the young people don't know exactly what they're walking out in service to. And I think that counselors are well positioned to bring kids together to talk about how do you have healthy discourse, not on social media.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I know that my time is up, and I'll just end for the next round of questions is that it's all, in terms of training, it's always thinking about asking the right questions, especially when kids have their head down, because you don't know what they're going through. Instead of saying, you know, what's wrong with you, it's maybe what happened, right? Like creating space for young people to be able to feel comfortable in disclosing. But I have no more time left, so I will shut up now.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sharon Durgan, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair. And this has been such a great discussion. Thank you so much for being here. As a first generation college graduate, there's this one memory that I had that kept coming to mind when you all were speaking. I remember I was having breakfast alone. It was my first weekend at Smith College, and I looked across the breakfast room and saw a parent and the student going through the booklet of, you know, what classes they were going to take and making those decisions. And I realized I had no one in my family who could help me with that. And that journey is what you guys are doing at so many levels, is helping provide that access and opportunity to folks who have no one in their family that they can talk to about these things. So I really appreciate all the work that you do. And I think from the discussion that you've had, what I'm noticing is a conversation about what your role is in the school and what the role of a school counselor is, and how the understanding of that role is core to being able to make sure that that role is effective, is efficient, and and has the weight that it should carry, and that understanding of all that goes into that and all that is being asked of you. So if you were to tell a head of school what your role is, what would that answer be of, like, what is your role and how can you sum that down into something? And can you tell me more about what those conflicts are that happen around what the role is and how that happens at the school level?
You want me to take it? No, you start. You're living it.
I think I would share that our role is to find all of the gaps in a school and bring people together to fill those gaps. And I think, again, this goes back to sort of, we see the school from really like a sort of like top-down, holistic, 360 lens. We see what it's like in a classroom. We see what it's like on the disciplinarian side. We see what happens in a counseling suite. We see what happens after school. And we can identify all of the places within those systems where something should change to make it more effective, more efficient in a way that supports students. So I think if I was going to say anything to my principal, it would be that. And then then maybe say, please give us like the space and the opportunity and the support to be able to bring everybody together to help fill those holes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always remind school leaders that counselors are responsible for academic, social, emotional, and post-secondary. And they're very comprehensive in what they do, and that means they're working with students' families, community agencies. They are the hub of the wheel. They're the hub of the wheel with many spokes. I like analogies. And in many ways, they need to have the time to build those relationships. So I would say counselors are really providing comprehensive supports that enable students to thrive and to benefit from the high-quality teaching and from the wonderful community-based programs that are already in place. So it's sort of just...
And in terms of building those relationships within a school, Do you feel that the way that BPS operates right now gives school counselors the opportunity to build those relationships as needed to deliver for students?
It could be better. I think that, your question about the roles is definitely a factor in that. So understanding what we do or what we can do or what we should be doing, and not operating under, kind of the guidance counselors, what we do as school counselors, and understanding that could better, support that. But I think that's a big piece of it, is making sure that we're, on the same page and understanding.
I had a few more questions, but my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Fitzgerald, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Mandy, you had some critiques of the Boston school as it currently stands with school counselors and stuff, right? How we can't do it if we're using the current format. This page we have here, the BPS school-based support team. I don't know if you have a copy of this, but it just sort of shows the Venn diagram of school counselor, social worker, school. Is this the format that you're talking about, or is it more just the school counselor piece in and of itself?
No, I think this is actually quite good. I think this is really important because I think that we need a constellation of supports for young people. It's not just counselors. We need all of this. It is about making sure that everybody in schools understands this and that there's time and training and space to deliver this. So I don't have a critique of this. And my critique is more about attending to the systemic features, not these amazing counselors here.
No. And that's,
Yeah.
I think you put it more eloquently than I did. But yes, that's what I was referring to. And I just wanted to make sure this isn't, because as I'm looking at this, I'm saying this isn't bad, right?
No, it's quite
good. So it's not the same. I guess the one other question, I just remember from high school, right? Like, there's always like the cool counselor that you want, right? Like how, and like sometimes that would, honest to God though, right? And sometimes when you had that person, you were more likely to go to see your counselor, to seek advice. And sometimes, if the person, if you didn't have that sort of, I don't know, overlap or commonalities with them, you were less likely to seek them out. Sure. How do you find the people that will attract it's hard, right? You just have to be a good person, give off a good vibe. They have to cook, again, right? Whatever on their test. But I don't really expect an actual answer out of this, but it's just sort of like the talent.
You're actually touching on, I think, an important issue, which is recruiting.
I thought I was,
Very poignant. Recruiting and retaining high-quality counselors happens. I mean, there are 9 school counseling graduate programs just out in the city and just outside. There should be plenty of a pipeline. It's overwhelmingly white women, which we need to change. We need to diversify the professional pipeline. But that's not an issue for here. I think that retaining them includes having strong accountability measures. I'm sure many of us can talk about working and being the cool counselor, but there were other counselors who weren't pulling their weight, but the accountability structures were not very strong. So how are we evaluating counselors? How are we giving them support to get better before we are evaluating them out? So I think that's an important piece of it. We want all the counselors to be the cool one that they all want, but in theory,
Right.
Yeah, and we want to make it cool to go to your counselor, to be able to ask for help. So I think it's developing those relationships from the get-go. We have an orientation at our school. A lot of the counselors are volunteering, or not volunteering, working in those spaces in the summertime, in being proactive, getting out of our offices. We're not waiting for students to come to us. We're trying to get out to them and sharing a little bit about who we are and all that. So I think it's being proactive, that getting to know who we are. We always have food in our offices too, so that's another way to draw them in.
No, that's great.
I am not the cool counselor.
Not true.
But I think that's actually important, like this idea of what is cool.
Right.
And I think, a lot of times the cool counselor is the person who lets them hang out in their office and doesn't send them to class. I don't do that. I hold my students accountable. I make sure they're going to class. I will kick them out of my office in a very loving way with snacks to get them to go back to class. And they still come back because they know that I am there, they know that I love them, and they know that I have their back no matter what. And so I think that's also part of it too, right? How do you make sure that our school counselors are doing what is best for kids, even if kids don't think that's what's best for them?
That sounds pretty cool to me.
Thank you, Counselor. Councilor Enrique Pepen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for the sponsors of this hearing. This is very personal and important topic to me. I am a very big beneficiary of my guidance/school counselor at the O'Brien. Shout out to Ms. Fontañez, who I understand retired ever since then, but she really played a huge role in my academic success. I wanted to bring up something that I experienced as a counselor, and is that I visited the GRU school in Hyde Park. Amazing school, but the school counselor's office was a supply closet. And part of mental health and part of counseling and part of getting resources, it's also about where you're getting it in the space. And I went in and there was a student there, and it's a small closet with no windows, and there's a bunch of crayons and papers and copy materials on the wall. My question is, who determines the space where you work out of? Because that impacts the quality of work that you provide.
So I'm from Hyde Park, and my son actually just graduated from the GRU in 6th grade. They don't have a school counselor. And I think that it's important to note that the space that is occupied there, it was either the school social worker, or maybe they also outsource with Home for Little Wanderers.
Yes.
And so if it's someone from the Home for Little Wanderers, they're someone who's coming in. A school's not necessarily going to designate an entire space for them if they're only there 1 or 2 days a week. If it's a school social worker, Ms. Nicholson, she, I know, is pulled in many, many different directions and is often dealing with students with behavior issues, or, a student who needs to be pulled from a classroom, et cetera. So I don't know how often there is a need for her to occupy a space. But I think it's an important distinction, because if there was a school counselor there who was there every day, that space might be set up in a way that is, comforting and warm and feels supportive to students, and not just a supply closet.
Right. Thank you for the clarification, by the way, because the vibe that I got there was that she was definitely doing some sort of help with the students. So thank you for clarifying.
And I only know that because we went to the GRU.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
But you may walk into other schools where the counselors are in a supply closet or in a basement, and that decision in a hallway. Often it's a decision made by the school leader based on the space they have, so it may be a space constriction. But the value that a school leader places on counseling, it very much is going to come from the value the district puts on counseling and the city puts on counseling. So I think you might find that elsewhere besides the GRU, and that's part of a larger ecosystem of valuing the counseling.
Thank you. My last question is regarding the violence work that is done in the city. Working with Isaac Yablo from the mayor's administration and BPD, obviously there's incidents of youth violence, and I can only imagine being a high school student where my friend is a victim of violence, and I have to go to school the next day and act like everything's okay. I feel like sometimes we don't create space for our students to talk about that. Is there a connection between the school counselors and maybe the best team or the local police department or the administration to talk about an incident that happened locally or affected a student at the school, where you guys could step in and have that bigger conversation in the school to cope with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think our principal, he definitely creates space for us to do that. There's a good connection. We have a head of guidance at a head of school counseling at our school, and she sits on the administration team, so she's definitely part of those conversations. And we have a school resource officer too that also works, closely with us too as part of our team. And yeah, I think anytime there is something that comes up, we kind of come together as a team to help support our students as we see it happening. Yeah.
Well, thank you. My time's up, but I just want to thank all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the panel for being here. I'm also fortunate that our son graduated from Boston Public School last year and had excellent counsels as well, so I want to say thank you. Is there a standard in BPS for guidance counselor to student? or does it depend on the grade, or does it depend on the school?
I don't think there's a specific standard. This is a good BPS question. I don't want to answer this question because I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't want to misspeak. So, but the national recommended average is 1 to 250.
Okay.
It's what's recommended nationally for the profession.
Okay. And I guess my next question would be, guidance counselors play a critical role in the lives of their students, but are they also providing mental health counseling to students?
So we provide short-term solution-focused counseling. So usually that might mean, check-ins for, weekly check-ins for about 6 weeks, helping students to overcome something that is situational. And if students need more than what we're able to provide, we will refer them for more extensive mental health counseling to a social worker.
Okay. Yesterday we were talking about domestic violence on the city council, and actually domestic violence in BPS families as well, in sexual violence as well. Is this something you're also seeing in your classes, in your schools?
Yeah. I mean, it comes up. And again, I think we work collaboratively with our social workers, our nurses. Actually, I have an intern that I'm working with. We just were going over today how to file a 51A, so giving her that information. And so, yeah, I mean, we definitely deal with it. We work together as a team to support the family and the students when things are happening like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes because counselors have a relationship with students, they will then tell a counselor if they are in an abusive situation, if they are witness to an abusive situation, and it's those trusting relationships that then enable the counselor to file and get social services and supports. If they know them, if they know the student. And mostly counselors form those strong relationships with students. And then it doesn't end there. I think there's this idea that students get mental health counseling in this room and college counseling here and then choose classes over here. That's not how it happens. I worked with a young woman at Brighton High School who came into the school undocumented. Her mom was a drug addict, and I eventually filed a 51A. She was taken out of the home, then wanted to pursue college, and we worked on her documentation, and then we did college planning, and she's a nurse today. And I don't know that any one of those things I would say is what the counselor does. It's the totality of it. It's the building the relationships to fill in the gaps, I think, as Jody said so eloquently.
Thank you. And my final question, I represent a large community where Cantonese is spoken, and Spanish, but mostly Cantonese. Do we have, what are the challenges we have when a student needs support from their guidance counselor, and that guidance counselor may not be able to communicate with that child or the child's parent due to language challenges?
Well, we do have some supports. We use Lions Bridge that you can use to call the family, and they translate like right there on the line with the family. And like I said, I think earlier, talking points, which translate like it's a text that's sent to a family, and it's sent in the family's native language, so we can communicate in that way too. And again, some partnerships with social workers and other support staff that might speak the language that the family speaks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm going to pass it over now back to the lead sponsor, and then just offer up for any final questions for this panel. But Council President Jen, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think I have two main questions. One, and I just want to thank you again. I think this has been a lot of learning for both me and my colleagues. But someone had talked about suicide risk assessments. Mm-hmm. Is that something that is done, let me back up a bit. I know that there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. In some ways, we'd like, okay, you do this. This is within your purview. This is within the purview of social workers. This is the purview of, and I know that we can't cut it so cleanly. But suicide risk assessments, is that something that is done habitually by by school counselors? Is that done on an as-needed basis? And I know that sometimes maybe it's a teacher that's seeing the warning signs, or maybe it's someone else, a family liaison. But how does that work, or what does that look like, especially in an environment where, September was Suicide Awareness Month, we need to talk about it more. How are we getting our kids to feel more comfortable coming either to our school councils? Is there a framework for that?
Sure. I mean, our school, we have the SOS programming. So we do signs of suicide. We go into our 7th grade classrooms. Every single student's tier 1. Everybody gets that. And then our 10th grade too. We go into their homerooms and we do it. The counselors work with the social worker. We kind of all work together. And then we do a screening. And after the screening, we strategize who's going to see who. So if there's, depending on how they answer that screening, we have the social workers or our clinicians work with them. We call a parent if there's, if it's a little bit not as severe. And then we also have Break Free from Depression. That's a model that we use in our 8th grade. So actually our health teachers are working with students on that, and they talk with them a little bit about that, how to see the signs for yourself or friends or family in terms of depression. So, and we also do the BIMAS, which trying to remember which class. I think we do 11th grade and 9th grade, so the other classes too, and which is another screener to give us some sense of how students are feeling. Actually, our social workers really take on that, and that's done usually during our homeroom period, and students are answering the questions, and then we follow up with any students that need follow-up.
We have a very similar process, although we also use signs of suicide and BIMAS as a screening indicator. We actually deliver it to all students across all grade levels throughout. So BIMAS, there's a window that
I'm sorry, it's called BIMAS?
BIMAS. I don't know what it stands for.
Behavioral intervention, BIMAS, yeah. Behavioral intervention. Something. Someone from BPS will know. So we deliver that to all students in October through the BIMAS window, and then in November we deliver the signs of suicide curriculum to all students. But whereas BLS has 2,500 students, we only have 430. So it is possible for us to deliver the same intervention to all grade levels each year.
Great.
All schools do that.
Val is on Zoom and wanted to answer this question. I don't know how that happens, but
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, because this might differ very
That's
much by school.
dedication. That's
Yeah,
he is.
Thank
He
you,
is
Val, for
listening
rejoining. Yeah. No, yeah, I do have a second question, and that's with respect to, we didn't talk a lot about sort of the college and career readiness part, but just like thinking about this as a spoke in the 3 spokes, being, I wrote it down, academic, social and emotional, college and career. College and career in a city like Boston where there's so many resources in college, being one of them, I wouldn't have been here without my guidance counselor really telling me about how I can get resources to apply for college and all of that. But the second one, not everyone is going to go to college. So do you feel as counselors that you have enough information, that there's enough coordination happening, knowing about the professional opportunities available to our young people, either in the trades or getting a job at a local hospital or something like that? Like, do you feel like there's enough being done on that end to help you guide the students as to what's possible post-college, post-high school? That's my second question, but if Val, if you wanted to answer the first one.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. So I'm glad I was able to join on Zoom. And again, I apologize that I had to leave early. And I can answer both questions, but
Please.
because I'm the one that mentioned the suicide risk assessment earlier during my testimony.
Yep.
So yes. So what the other panelists mentioned, we also do at the O'Brien. What I was mentioning was a specific protocol that is in one of the superintendent's circulars. So there's superintendent circulars for various issues that a counselor or staff member may encounter. And I'll give you just a couple examples that happened just this school year. One of the English teachers sent me an email because one of his students wrote about harming herself in her college essay. And so because there is a protocol, the protocol says that it must be either a licensed school counselor, a social worker, a nurse, a school psychologist. And 2 people have to conduct a suicide risk assessment. So it's a set of questions guidelines that the two adults ask a student around protective factors, and ultimately asking them if they have a plan and intent to harm themselves, right? And depending on what they say during that interview, you then have to call the best team, obviously call the parents, or ask that the parents bring that child to the emergency department. And so, again, as school counselors, a lot of these concerns come right to us because there's often that trusting relationship. In this case, it was in the form of a college essay, and the teacher wasn't sure how to address it. And so the teacher obviously had a relationship with me. I had a relationship with the student. And so I called that parent. I let them know. You have to ask for parent permission to conduct the suicide risk assessment. But again, there is a protocol for it. I think, again, every school does it differently, even though it's in the circular and there's a protocol for it. But as a licensed school counselor, as long as you have another licensed professional, in many cases, a social worker, nurse, etc., a school counselor can conduct a suicide risk assessment. So the way our school is set up, oftentimes they come to us and we'll connect with the social worker or other clinician to conduct that risk assessment.
Thank you, Val.
I don't know if there's a follow-up question, but I can also answer your second question as well.
Yeah, the second question would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, so I wanted to answer that too because college counseling is my favorite part of the job. Earlier in my testimony, I talked about the 3 domains: academic counseling, college and career, and then mental health. College counseling is my favorite part. I actually wrote my testimony last night after I finished a Questbridge letter of recommendation. Questbridge is a national amazing scholarship, full tuition scholarship to some of the most prestigious colleges around the country. But I think there's district PD, right? That for college counseling, there's a national PD that we attend. I think it really depends, kind of like, because not all school counselors are necessarily doing college counseling, right? Especially if you're not at the high school level. We partner with the College Advising Corps, so most high schools have a college advisor, and that's it's what do you call it? It's an AmeriCorps role, so they're typically, young folks who are recently out of college who help support it. But again, when I think about college counseling, there's curriculum behind it, right? So in the junior year, we do classroom lessons around building a college list, making sure that students have, a reach schools, which are schools that maybe are more difficult to get into, match schools that we think they have a good chance of getting into, and safety schools, right? So there's lessons around it. There's lessons around the college essay. There's lessons around financial aid literacy. So not financial literacy, but financial aid literacy. So when students apply to college, they're also applying to financial aid. So again, it's a lot, right? And I think there's a lot to know, and I think PD around is incredibly important, but I just wanted to say that it is absolutely my favorite part of the job. And I wish there were more PD, because I think when I talk to some of my counseling colleagues across the city, not everyone is as well informed around college counseling. And I think, again, it's because how different schools are set up. But that's a great question, and it's something that I care deeply about. And so thank you for that question.
I have to step out, so I just would love to respond very quickly. I'm so sorry to leave, but one thing I just want to acknowledge, since Councilor Fitzgerald noticed some of my critiques, is that the district has invested in the MyCap and the college and career readiness work led by Marcia Innes-Mitchell, who has done just such an impressive job with this, and I think it's one of the strengths. You raise, they know I'm talking about you. Yes, that's a huge strength and asset in the district, and she's provided important leadership in that domain, and I suspect that these two will say the same. And I think just to note that that we need to build on those successes and build on that leadership and show that in the mental health and in the other domains, just as Marcia's been able to do in college and career. Because your question is also about the career piece, yes, and the career and technical education, the trades and the apprenticeships, and that is a growing area right now, and I think that's where she's been particularly successful.
Awesome.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And again, happy Rosh Hashanah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And thank you to our first panelist. Unless there's any final questions for this panel, we're good to move on. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for being here, and thank you for your thoughtful answers. As we transition to our second panel, I've been informed by the central staff that we have 2 people who were signed up and waiting for public testimony at the beginning of the hearing, and I'd like to just invite them to testify now as we transition into both panels. So I'd like to call up the administration to come up. And then when your name is called, please come down to one of the two podiums and state your name, neighborhood, and organization. Please speak into the microphone, and please keep your comments to 2 minutes. I think I have here Meg Stone, who is the Executive Director of Impact Boston. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name is Meg Stone. I'm the Executive Director of Impact Boston, and I'm proud to say that our Ability Impact, Abuse and Violence Prevention and Safety Education program has been part of special education in BPS since 2010. And I am very clear that school counselors play a critical role in the success of this work. Through a strong partnership with various BPS departments, Impact Boston educates students with intellectual and developmental disabilities about personal safety, internet safety, and healthy relationships. We are proud to work with school partners who understand that to be successfully employed and pursue independent living, students with disabilities must also be safe. Federal data show that students with disabilities face risks of sexual violence and violent crime that are higher than those without disabilities, and many were the hardest hit by the learning disruptions of the pandemic. I am so grateful that this committee is taking time to prioritize the issue of student mental health and the role of school counseling, and I'm here today as one of many voices to uplift the specific needs and realities of special education students. The students we reach need more repetition and reinforcement of social and emotional learning concepts. They need information presented in more graduate and concrete formats. Many learn by role plays, by concrete experience, and with this, they are able to internalize effective communication and self-advocacy strategies. Over the years, we have had the honor of collaborating with teachers, Strive community connection facilitators, and especially school counselors to ensure that students have the safety skills that they need. School counselors are uniquely helpful. They can address everything from social skills at work to the lasting impact of past trauma, and most importantly, the link between practical future planning and ongoing mental health. Is that time? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Dan Goldsberry on Zoom. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry about that, it took me a minute to connect. My name is Dan Goldsberry, and I'm a school counselor for grades 10, 11, and 12 at the newly renamed Ruth Batson Academy in Dorchester. I want to recognize and appreciate the work of the City Council who scheduled today's hearing. School counselors in Boston often feel left out of important conversations regarding the future of our district, so it is an honor to be recognized for the tireless work we do each day. When we returned to in-person learning after the COVID-19 pandemic, BPS rightly decided to ensure every BPS school had a social worker. Sadly, at present, there are dozens of BPS schools without school counselors. I've seen it with my own eyes. As a middle school counselor for 10 years, I can attest to the critical need for academic and social emotional support in the middle grades. However, when BPS closed their middle schools, no counseling positions were added to the K-8 schools, which absorbed many of these vulnerable young people. According to data provided by the Boston Teachers Union, as of this past summer, out of 25 K-8 schools in the city, only 3 had licensed school counselors. That means that more than 10,000 young people in our city do not have access to this critical support. As you may know, schools in Boston, including mine, utilize multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS.
All right, I think we lost. Yep, okay. So we'll move forward with our second panel. Thank you again to our first panelists for being here and to the members of the public for testifying. For our second panel today, we have the members of the administration. With us here today, we have Dr. Ted Lombardi, the Secondary Superintendent for College, Career, and Life Readiness for Boston Public Schools. And then we have Corey McCarthy, who is the Chief of Students for Boston Public Schools. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your patience. So you'll have the floor. We'll provide about 10 minutes for your presentation, and then we can move forward with counselor questions. Thank you.
Great. Do you want me to lead off? Thank you, Counselor, and thank you for you all for being here, and thank you to the panel before us. It's a group of counselors that I've had the privilege of working with quite a bit over the past few years. I will take a really short amount of time today just to talk about some of the things that I think are really exciting that we've done to try to forward the counseling work that happens in BPS over the last couple of years in an attempt to address many of the things that were raised by the first panel. So when I came into this role a couple of years ago, we added this Executive Director of School Counseling position, which is now occupied by Caitlin Gilligan, who started with us this summer. That was an important step for us. It was always a guidance director position that existed that did a lot of the sort of mechanical support, graduation diplomas, transcripts, that sort of thing. That still exists. We added the executive director position. We've also added an assistant director focused on the MyCap work that was referenced earlier, and as was referenced as well, Marcia Ennis Mitchell has done a ton of work with our counselors historically in many realms. So we've tried very hard to up our supports centrally for the work that our counselors do. Part of the executive director position has been establishing this district-wide PD for counselors that has existed throughout the year for the past couple of years. That was identified, early on when I met with the Counselor Faculty Senate and others as a huge gap for our counselors. They didn't feel like they had local relevant PD to go to, and I think we've been able to address that. It's one of those, are we where we need to be yet? No, but we're certainly not where we were, and we've made some real positive steps. We do also, through a grant from Project Provide, a 5-year grant, we're able to provide every new counselor a mentor last year and this year and going forward, again, to address a need that was elevated earlier. We know that that's a really important piece for our counselors. And then finally, just in terms of the sort of role clarity issues that were brought up, that's something that we work with our school leaders on, quite frequently, and it's some of the work that the ED of School Counseling is doing. Some of the work that I do in my work with school counselors, their regional superintendents do. Again, pulling counselors out of the building for district-wide PD is something new, and that's probably part of the resistance that some of them have felt in being able to leave the building. And again, most of our principals come from a teaching background, not from a counseling background. And I think they do need some extra support in understanding what that role is, so perfectly understood and something that we're in the process of addressing. Then the last thing I'll address to answer the question from Councilor Flynn earlier, there's an element in the union contract for high school students that is a 300-to-1 ratio as a baseline. That is part of the BTU contract. We are thankfully well ahead of that. We do much better than that ratio in our schools right now.
Hello, thank you for having me. Once again, my name is Corey McCarthy. I am the Chief of Student Support in the Boston Public Schools. I want to start with giving some gratitude and being thankful for our school counselors. Val Davino and I, we've worked very closely together when we were both at New Mission. I think we've both seen what it takes and to really to have this sort of all-in effort for our students to be successful. But there's also a few things here. We're not going to play any defense here. I think these are our colleagues. We want to support them. We understand that this is a larger part of the connective tissue, but I think to tell the larger story of the ecosystem, in student support is made up of multiple departments. And I think, even folks that are watching at home and some members of the chamber, we have our Department of Social Work. We have health services. We have athletics. We have opportunity youth. We have the Counseling and Intervention Center, which does a lot of work with a lot of Tier 3 and substance abuse, as well as the anti-bullying work. We also have some subsets that work with intensive support, students who are justice involved. We also have a component where we're building around peer mediation to sort of mitigate some internal issues in schools. We also have additional components where we identify the specific gaps. So with all that being said, we do touch upon and multiple areas that school counselors work with, and we love and appreciate the collaboration that we have with them, and that has allowed us to really support the entire body of work with our young people. I think, to borrow a phrase from The Wire that I constantly use, is all the pieces matter. And I think the graphic that we shared, and originally our plan was to come and look at that graphic, but I think that graphic is pretty clear. And I think as a unit, as a team, as a district, I think we have to continuously look and remodel and identify what are the 21st century things that we could use to engage our young people. We have a unique opportunity to build the capacity for our students. I think in thinking about the cross-functional work and how can we support our many partners in this work, we have looked as a team at some of the gaps and how we could fill those gaps. And, our goal as a unit, not only beyond like supporting students with mental health, is to do two things, right? Change the conditions, right? For students, like it's ongoing, it's changing. Some kids need more, everybody needs, sometimes less is more for some individuals. We look at the conditions, we evaluate them to see how we could help immediately. Another piece is to remove barriers. Some of the things that we are proud of, we created in support, and this is actually a testament to the work that we've done together with Val and some of the other school counselors in the district. We built the Opportunity Lab. And I know Counselor Mejia has seen it in person. I implore you guys to come see us this Saturday from 10 to 2. We are there with college coaches, with students who can't. Our school counselors, they're not available on weekends. So in unison, we are saying, hey, like where there's gaps, we're going to fill them. And where there's gaps, there's opportunities. And we are helping students that day with college applications, college essays, potentially scholarships, financial aid. Our office has worked with secondary schools to have multiple college tours. Students who, research says students who see it for themselves, right? Who see and understand, and it means different for our kids when they know, a lot of people are thinking about the work that they're doing when they go to college, but we're thinking about like, hey, what does it mean to have 3 meals a day? Like unlimited pizza, unlimited pasta, or having the ability to have your own room for the first time, right? Those aren't the things, those are the things that get you there, but what makes you stay is the ability to have that support. And, we're grateful for, and that takes a lot of cross-collaborative work and cross-functional work. So by doing so, this sort of our Opportunity Lab, we've helped and supported in collaboration and representing the Boston Public Schools. We completed 75 applications last year. The tuition-free community college, we completed those over 30 with our students. 123 students completed a college essay for our college essay night. We had 4 full college tours, 2 HBCU tours, a state college tour, as well as touring the Rhode Island schools. I think going back to the original saying of all the pieces matter, while stating and saying like, hey, when a student is successful, as one of our colleagues mentioned earlier, when a student feels successful, their mental health and sort of ability to feel great about themselves greatly improves. They become more confident. They speak out more. And we try to really elevate those things for our young people so they could taste success and sort of take that with them long term. Also, obviously we have I mentioned the multiple departments within student support, but we do take it personal around the psychological safety of our students. Like when you come to school, we don't want young people to walk in a building and then be hit with a rule. It's all cultural. Like what is the culture of a building? What is the culture of going to school? We have one of our departments works closely with chronic absenteeism. It's not just about students being there, but staying there. And I think as we continue to have these brilliant conversations and really value our coworkers, I think it's on us, right? To be exactly what the graphic says, right? And to continuously work on that. Continuous improvement is something that everybody could benefit from. And I'm grateful for not only our team in student support, the Office of Secondary Schools and our school counselors for doing that. And, I think that there's a larger lesson to be learned, but when we're talking about mental health, this is what got us there. I think we're looking at the long-term pieces that are going to make and help us be successful. One of the things that we're looking at right now is maybe we should have a self-reporting tool for our young people, right? Like tell us, right? And talking to our families and helping our families understand what the signs are. Our social work team is super strong in doing that, but we could double down on that. We have some weekend programming. Our Sunday program this year is offering tutoring on a Sunday. It's the only thing happening in the city right now. Sports, wellness, stretch lab, yoga, it is happening. 617 Sunday, free advertising. It's not a book, but it is a program you guys can come and see. We also have a student support hotline. You have a problem, your student has a problem, call the hotline. We'll triage and support you as much as we can. And finally, to the question around what happens when something serious happens to our young people, we talk, we communicate with our colleagues. Our social workers get involved, but district social workers get involved. We stay connected, and I think all the pieces matter when it comes to that. Thank you.
Thank you both for that, and thank you again for being here. As with our first panel, I'd like to now invite the lead sponsor and original co-sponsors to begin with a round of questions for the panel, and then I will turn the floor over to my colleagues in order of arrival. With that, Council President Nguyen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Corey and to Ted for being here and for all the work that you do on behalf of our students. First question is, we have district-wide social workers. It's a model that we use, but we don't have the same for district-wide counselors, school counselors. Have we thought about that? Why have we made the decision to have district-wide social workers and not district-wide guidance counselors?
I'll let Corey talk about the social work piece. Maybe this is applicable to both. A lot of the staffing at school is school-based, mm-hmm. and it's based around student-weighted funding and the decisions that schools make. From our end, I work in the Office of Secondary Schools, so, it is super important to me that there are counselors in all of our secondary schools. I completely agree that it would be amazing to have counselors in our elementary schools and recognize the sort of shift that's happened with middle schools and that our grades have shifted in terms of having, more students in K-8, more now 7 to 12 high schools. Mm-hmm. That has changed the need as well. So I think it's something that if it's something that we're able to fund long term, it would be super valuable. There's certainly no argument here, but the element of funding really comes from school level based on what's allotted through student-weighted funding outside of some of these larger initiatives like the capital investment and counselors that happened a couple of years ago with Dr. Caselli's with the 9th grade counselors and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
On our district social workers support and help our school-based social workers build additional capacity while providing some supports that are sometimes outside of their expertise, and they make some higher level decisions that sometimes may either trickle up or trickle down. I think having our district social workers allows us to really, really balance the student success teams that we have and really maintenance some of the critical issues that we do face in our schools, especially when we're talking about crisis response, responding to the greatest needs that our students have that are more immediate oftentimes and oftentimes like after the bell rings at the end of the day. Yeah. And we do have a regional model. So I think that there's tons of alignment. There's tons of alignment there.
Thank you. I think what and you've talked about it. The other panel talked about it. A fear of mine is we were able to do so much good in terms of expansion with the ESSER funds. And again, I'm not trying to preach for a one-size-fits-all model, but I worry about what the decisions are made at the school level, and I worry about what we lose when those decisions, if people are making trade-offs between having a librarian and making sure we have sufficient school counselors. And I know it might be premature and I think someone alluded to the fact that it would be premature to see, I think it was Jody, what the impact of, reducing the number of social workers or reducing the number of counselors, but is there a way that we can, as a district, get ahead of that? I mean, I care about the music, I care about the arts, I want a librarian in every school, but specifically around school counselors, how do we get ahead of what we may see as a result of no longer having ESSER? There's an article this morning in WGBH that mental health support for BPS students has shrunk even as needs remain high. And I promise I was like, it had nothing to do with this hearing. I was like, oh, but they're writing about it because it's something that I think people want to make sure that we continue to wrap our kids with all the support. And Corey Point noted that support is so much more than what even happens in the school day and what we provide our kids in a building in a school day. But how are we sort of trying to anticipate what the end of ESSER means for how we're able to provide supports for our students when it comes to school workers, school counselors?
I'm sorry, excuse me. It's the most non-perfect algorithm. I think as some of our funds sunset, right? It's you can't negotiate prioritizing the greatest needs of children, right? And I think in the process of doing that, you have to. My hope is that everybody, right? We get more, but we get more and more quality, and with more quality, we get more training and continuous improvement. But as far as like what the plan is for when ESSER sunsets, I think it has to be a collaborative approach from leadership, right? And then sort of polling and surveying the folks who, everyone, right? And not just, a top-down situation. And I hope that as ESSER sunsets, we are able to communicate with the folks that will be impacted before they're impacted, right? Like, you don't want to find out before it's too late. You want to know, or you want to hear, like, hey, where can we grow and where can we pull from, and how can we sort of measure impact from there? So I think if that approach is we're approaching that right now, and hopefully the approach we take is one that is fair, one that is inclusive, and it's all the things that we say we are when we want to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then just a last question, Dr. Lombardi, you stated that we're doing better than what the ASA recommends of 250 to 1. Where are we?
So the last data I have is from the end of last year, so I don't want to say that it's 100% currently, but if you just do high school grades, we're actually at about 160 to 1. What I was saying was that we're ahead of the union contract requirement is 300 to 1. But yeah, we're at about 160 to 1. But that is a district-wide average. So to the point that some of the counselors made earlier, and this is part of the sort of school-based staffing issue that exists, is that there are situations where that ratio is higher. The contract speaks to a district-wide average, and that is the district-wide average as of the end of last school year.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll allow my colleagues to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Coletta Zapata, you have the floor.
Thank you both. Appreciate your testimony and your work. So first, just to touch upon the question that I had earlier about coordination with principals and just program accountability and effectiveness. I'm always wondering what the benchmarks of success are, right? How can we manage expectations or set expectations for ourselves so that we know that we're either hitting our goals or we're not? So I guess my question to you is, how do we measure the effectiveness of our school counseling programs? Is there a standardized school level evaluation tools or metrics that are used so that principals can then go to their counselors and talk about what that success looks like and what the roadmap is?
I appreciate that question, Counselor. I think the answer is really embedded in something that Jody said earlier, and that our counselors are really sort of the connectors of a million different things at school level, right? So the real metrics of counselor success are school success and student success. From our end in the secondary office, if you look at the work that happens in the secondary schools office, it's mostly programmatic in nature, right? It's AP and IB and CTE pathways, early college, innovation pathways, post-secondary partnerships. Those are the things that live in the office, plus the ED of school counseling. And the reason that is so is that the implementation of that programming has to go through our counselors in order to reach students, right? It's vitally important. We're a tree falls in the forest if we don't have the school level implementation of whatever. We could plan the most wonderful programming on earth. If we can't get it to our students, mostly through our counselors, then it's really irrelevant. So while there isn't a sort of micro metric of what school counseling success is in a given school, especially, again, given the different size demographics, types of our schools, we look at it as a real central function of the school, and that school success and student success is counselor success.
Yeah, and I think that goes to Councilor Louis-Jean's point, like nothing is a one-size-fits-all sort of model or solution. I guess it really does come down to communication between all stakeholders. Like, are there any policies that in place that encourage collaboration between counselors, principals, and administrators, parents? Is there like a standardized model?
I mean, I would say what we have standardized at this point is our yearly PD that happens locally within our district. There aren't policies, I think, in the way that you're sort of asking around how communication happens outside of sort of things that are contractual. But again, to the points that were made earlier, counselors are sort of part teacher, part administrator, right? They serve a lot of different roles. So in schools where it operates well, it's because there's a great relationship between folks that are leading the school. So that is hopefully more and more the norm. I see that improving through the course of the last couple of years. I would also say, just to recognize that part of the struggle for all staff, but counselors included, is that staff have been pulled in a million different directions because of what we've been through in the last few years. Mm-hmm. A ton of COVID absences, students coming back to in-person schooling with a whole set of different social emotional concerns and issues. So the world that counselors and all other school staff serve has really changed quite a bit in the last 4 years. So to say that we've anywhere arrived at any sort of metric and policy, we are in a deep learning phase about how to work with students in the post-COVID world, and how to staff our schools in a way that accounts for things that we never thought about pre-2020.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
And the school counselor role is tied heavily to school functioning and school accountability, especially when it comes to like whether it's our reporting, amount of students filling out financial aid, does schools offer AP, the whole nine. They're directly tied to that. I think to your point, I think the larger piece that we have to look at and manage and evaluate is how can we improve those internal relationships and present a model that reflects the very graphic that we showed you today. And that, while that is happening, I'm always going to go back to this continuous improvement approach.
Thank you. I think my last question is just centered around various populations. Are there any steps that we're taking to ensure counseling services are equitable and culturally responsive for all students? That's my last question.
Good. So cultural responsiveness is a core tenet of everything that we do in BPS. So counselors certainly included in that. One specific element is, it was mentioned earlier, some of the translation services that exist now. Mm-hmm. And that's an area where our Office of Family and Community Engagement has really stepped in and helped. So there are many tools that our counselors and teachers are using to be able to communicate in home languages with families, to be able to offer more holistic supports where they can communicate in a native language even if they don't speak it themselves. So it's a central tenet of everything that we do, that we are culturally responsive in our nature. Counselors certainly included in that. Yeah, and I think it's important when you talk about being culturally responsive is we should also talk about cultural competence, right? And the understanding of what the barriers are to prevent our students furthest away from opportunity and justice, from going to college or into the workforce. And the response should always be more on top of more, right? Even if we're doing something good, we got to do something better. And if we're doing something better, we have to do something great for our students. And then sitting with them and talking and being around them enough to build a relationship where they identify the barriers, and instead of us sort of saying like, hey, just because you just came from another country, that means you can't go here. No, this is the resource. And I think oftentimes, as a whole,
we need to help our students rationalize what opportunity looks like, and to constantly redefine it for them all the time. One of our students, just two quick things. One of our students, she's probably I think she is a level 1 MLL learner, and she came to the Opportunity Lab. She had a paper in her hand and say, "Hey, I don't speak English, but one thing we were able to do is have somebody there," and they spent time with her filling out her college application, and then gave her the information what to say and what to do when she goes back, and then give her the other piece around contacting and communication into how to get support. But then on the other spectrum, you have, we had another student who, I don't want to put his, he was shot the month before and came in and said and named, "Hey, I need to go to college because I need to get out of here." And the response wasn't, "Hey, you can't go. Let's all work until and exhaust every single resource to get you to go." And I think the mentality is something that that we do have. We have to be aggressive with the students who are furthest away from opportunity and justice.
100%. Thank you, Chair. I do think that you all are doing an incredible job. I know it's not easy, right? Working in partnership with our social workers and our psychologists. We didn't have that when I was at school, and I graduated almost 15 years ago, so just thank you. East Boston is getting a new Boston International Newcomers Academy. And so building out that program and being super responsive to them is important to me. So I look forward to working with you on that, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to thank our lead sponsors for their rounds of questions. I'd like to now hand the floor over to my other colleagues in order of arrival. I'd like to ask my colleagues to limit the time of your initial questions and responses from our panelists to 5 minutes per counselor, including panelist responses. Next up, we have Councilor Mejia.
Okay. Thank you. So I follow your work, so I show up to your events. I know everything that you do to make sure that our kids have wraparound services. So I just want to say thank you for your leadership in this space. And I think it's really important to also name that there was a hearing that I hosted a few years ago, and there was a participant who testified, and she was really nervous. I forget, Jeter?
Chantal, Cheater.
Miss Cheater. And she was going on and on and on about the dysfunction around the athletics situation. And what I really do appreciate about what you did with her, which goes to speak that the work that you do goes beyond just student supports, is that you identified and saw something in her and the value. And instead of isolating her, which is what most oftentimes happens to people who like to be disruptive, you embraced her and created an opportunity. And because of that, she has gone on to produce amazing program for other students who are a little bit rough around those edges. And so I think when we're talking about school counselors and this conversation, it really is a labor of love. And it requires an ability to really see beyond just the behavior of someone and how they're showing up. So I saw that in you a few years ago, and I have seen the results of how you channel that energy. So I just want to acknowledge that as part of this conversation, because oftentimes our kids are walking into spaces and places that are not ready to receive them. And not all, you can train people, you can go to whatever college you want to go to, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the emotional intelligence and the ability to really see kids, then you're not going to be able to take care of them. So I just want to say thank you for that leadership, because then it trickles down to how your other team shows up. So I just wanted to name that.
Thank you.
So really quick, I'm thinking specifically for the students. I'm always going to talk about recent arrivals, right? I was one of those kids that I had to learn how to speak English. There was a lot of stigma around mental health in my family. I've been very open about my suicide attempt, and my mom was too afraid to report it to anyone. And so I'm just curious about kind of like the support services that you are providing your frontline staff, and how are we taking care of those who are taking care of our kiddos? Would love to hear a little bit about that.
Okay. So there's a lot of departments in student support, right? And I think the mediating tool is, as I mentioned earlier, like everyone's psychological safety, right? I can't be, I should probably take my own advice, but like I can't be good at my job unless I have it's like a football term, a check down, right? Like when the quarterback can't throw the 20-yard pass, how could I check this thing down? And I think for us in student support, we really do the check down work well. I think we have. And then we do our sort of like handoffs well with our other departments, with the other departments in the district, whether it's Ted's team, whether it's the school psychologist, whether it's our school counselors. We hand off and check down very well. And I think obviously we can improve on that, but I think some of the strategies that we have is just like the over communication and the feedback loops. Our director of social work, Jenna Parafensic, is here. She is constantly working with her assistant directors to make sure that the district social workers are getting information and getting support to the social workers. The social workers, the district social workers then get that information and support and strategies to our school-based teams and our students and families.
I got one more question to get in.
Go ahead.
Because I've got 30
I see that clock.
Talk to me a little bit about the training and professional development that you are providing our school counselors. What does that entail?
So it entails a lot because what they do is a lot. But there's a lot of college advising. There's a lot of, the work is based around the MASCA standards, which has been mentioned a number of times. So that's the really basis of the work, to hit all elements of what they see on a daily basis. We've done that it's usually about 5 sessions per year that are offered, about a bi-monthly basis for them. But it does typically, I saw the clock going, so I was waiting for the beep. It does typically reside mostly in sort of the college and career readiness element, since that is, if you look at the Venn diagram, the piece that they hold solely and doesn't overlap with our school psychs and our social workers.
Yeah, so, my time is up, so. I'm just curious, I think it was Mandy that talked about us getting to the 21st century situation here. So if my colleagues have not asked that question, I'm just curious about what is BPS doing to get to the 21st century. And if you have answered the question, then I'll withdraw it. I don't think it's fair to ask you to do it. I can just watch the tape.
I would just say simply that what Dr. Savitz-Romer is talking about is really the MASCA standards, and that we hit those, and that's what we try to do through our professional learning.
But it seems like there's something that's still missing. It feels like there's something systemic, there's something not clicking here.
Yeah, I think what's missing is that this is only our second year of having this system in place. Right, so not all counselors have been to all sessions. This is still in the early phases. So I think to the point I was sort of trying to make earlier, that we're early in the process of trying to get this right on the tracks. Mm-hmm. We are completely in agreement with what was said earlier around the work that needs to be done. We're out of the starting blocks. We're just not around the first turn yet.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to go over.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Flynn, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the panel for being here. You mentioned the student ratio, 250 to 1. Was that accurate?
The union contract is 300 to 1 for
Okay.
high schools, 400 to 1 for middle schools, and then 250 to 1 is the ASCA national recommendation.
Okay. Does every school have a counselor?
Every high school has a counselor, but does not meet the ratio because the ratio contractually is a district average. So those are the numbers I was referring to earlier, that on a district level, our average is 160 to 1. But schools are allowed to staff, and this is sort of where the Venn diagram comes in, schools staff themselves based on what they feel is their need. So some of our schools might have a smaller footprint of school counselors, but have a social worker and a school psych, or multiple social workers.
But there's some schools that don't have a counselor.
There are elementary schools that don't have counselors. Yes.
Is that a challenge? Is that a concern?
Like I said before, Counselor, I think having a counselor at every school would be really important. It doesn't, to be perfectly honest, it's in the work that I do in the Office of Secondary Schools, I don't hear that a lot because I don't work with elementary schools directly. But personally, do I believe that it would be valuable to have counselors in elementary schools? Yeah, of course.
Okay. I heard testimony earlier from one of the counselors, but do the counselors also provide other duties or fill in at the cafeteria or fill in at one of the teachers is out, they go in and fill in the room? Do they also do other duties as necessary based on the attendance for the personnel that day?
There have certainly been times in the past few years when they've been asked to do that. I'm sure in some schools more than others. In the last few years, we've had an unprecedented number of absences because of COVID, where even our sort of cluster subs and other sub structures in the district haven't been able to cover in the way that they have historically. So school staff across the board have been asked to do more than they have in recent years. Counselors certainly included in that, but not solely them.
When a counselor is out for vacation, a counselor is out for sick or personal day, who fills in for that counselor?
It would really depend on the school. Schools that have multiple counselors, if there was a need.
But if it's a school with just one counselor?
If it's a school with one counselor, so a couple of scenarios. One is if there were things that were scheduled from that counselor, they would just simply reschedule them, student meetings for another day. If there were immediate student supports needed, that's likely where the other support staff that we've been talking about would step in, most likely social workers. If there was a real immediate, particularly a mental health need, there would be other services within the school, whether it's partners or social workers, to address that.
Who certifies guidance counselors? Who certifies the counselors?
They are DESE licensed, just in the same way that a teacher is, just a different path.
Do we have counselors in there that are not certified?
There are some counselors that they're most likely in the either waiver process or they're in the process of getting certified if they're not certified.
Okay. Can they provide mental health counseling?
So there's a limit, right? So the tier 1 piece that we've talked about earlier is sort of all students, right? So counselors meet with students. Students will say things, whether it's to a teacher, to a counselor. So there's an element of, I wouldn't call it counseling, but screening. That is part of what they do, and there are set screeners that our counselors use.
Initially, during the conversation, if a student brings up concerns about mental health, obviously the counselor will listen or talk to that student, but they would not provide ongoing mental health counseling, though.
Right, that would get escalated, and Corey, if you want to talk to sort of social workers, do that.
Our social workers are licensed to do that, to support students.
But the councils are not.
The school, they provide they provide a portion of the collaborative work around mental health support. I think there's a distinction between support and the actual therapeutic support, that mental health support that folks need. So I think that's where the intersection happens, and the sort of like handoff and check down that we talked about earlier will occur. I think what counselors do great in this situation is to present and understand and assess the early sort of analysis of what students need, and then they serve as the mediating tool to whether to get it to the school social worker, school psychiatrist, elevate it to the admin, or possibly an outside partner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And again, thank you for our panelists for being here and answering your questions. I will now, unless there's any final questions from anyone, I'm not going to turn it over to his final statements. from our counselors here, starting with the lead sponsor, Council President Regen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to thank you again for being here. It takes all of the parts matter. That's an eloquent way of, I know that you gave a quote.
It's from The Wire.
Yeah, I know.
All the pieces matter.
I was a student of The Wire, watched it, and I forgot the quote. But I want to thank you for all the work that you do. I also, missed an opportunity where counselors, and there were counselors here. I missed a counselor joke moment. So. But I'm done. This, again, it's critically important to me. I think we heard from the counselors here about that, what matters. It's great to hear from you, Dr. Lombardi, that professional development is something that we're going to be investing in more, how we're supporting those who are supporting our kids to make sure that they're able to give back stellar support to our kids. I think it's also important what some of the counselors mentioned, that not only is academic success contingent upon mental health, the reverse is also true. And I think our counselors matter a lot. For me, my counselor was revolutionary, and that's why this is an important topic for me as someone who has nieces and nephews who've been in BPS, who've just come into BPS, knowing that counselors can really be this transformative tool where kids are coming from backgrounds where they don't have college as a career path, or don't know college as a possibility, or career pathways, that our counselors are doing that work of, like they call themselves, right? They are the primary care physicians, the equivalent of, all right, how do I redirect you to more services that can support you in ways that you need more holistically. I think we heard, in addition to professional development, the need, the desire among my colleagues for us to be doing district-wide school counselors at the elementary school level, knowing that ESSER is going to present funding challenges for our schools. But I think those are the things that we want to see, and I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing as we continue to try to make our kids ready for post-secondary life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Mejia?
Thank you. Thank you to the chair, and thank you to my colleagues, the lead sponsors, for this. I'm really excited about the conversation and when it's happening, because we know budget season is literally upon us, right? And I think that these conversations help inform, hopefully, the superintendent and her team around what are the investments we should be making, right? And I think that as a BPS graduate and as a BPS mom and as a BPS agitator, having worked in this space from a very different lens, working alongside Emilio, oh my God, I forget his last name, but he was a part of Tommy Chang's team. So that was like 3 superintendents ago. When social and emotional learning became a thing, we were working as parents, trying to make sure that we were doing trauma-informed classrooms and, really supporting students in their little backpacks. And so I feel like I have watched this journey evolve. And I think that at the end of the day, the bottom line really is in terms of what we're investing in terms of student outcomes. And I think that one of the most important parts of the puzzle is student supports, is making sure that the frontline workers, if you will, the social workers, the school nurses, counselors, right? Those are the folks who usually are the case managers too, right? They're the ones who have to deploy and figure out how to triage the trauma that walks through the classroom. And I think that there needs to be more investments in those spaces and places. And so I think this conversation really lends itself to that. And in terms of building infrastructure, I really do believe that there's an opportunity to revise the training curriculum, right? And figure out where the gaps are. Because BPS is one of the oldest school, I think we have one of the first institutes, right? We're the oldest.
Yeah. First school.
We're the oldest. My God, we're the oldest.
Seasoned.
We're the seasons, right? and because we should be, right? With all of these universities that are surrounding us, we should be the best at everything that we do. And I'd love to see BPS really leaning into and working more closely with, the School of Social Work for BU, getting Harvard. Like, I'm sure you do that, but I would love to see more of that in terms of student support so that we don't always have to grapple with whatever little dimes and pennies are left over. And I think that there's ways for us to be a little bit more thoughtful and resourceful with all the assets that we have to help support you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. And again, I just want to thank all of our panelists, members of the public, and other attendees, and my colleagues for your participation in today's hearing. This hearing on docket number 0197 is adjourned.
Can I say one more thing? I'm so sorry. Is that law? Did I break the law? Oh, okay. So I want to say thank you for your support, all of your support, right? I think it's important that we say that super loud. But I realize we didn't answer a question around how we pulled the things together, right? To get towards the continuous improvement, we really, really do have to manage the intersections of all of the work that we spoke about, right? And I think that's something that we were able to unearth today, right? While understanding that our kids deserve more, right? And I think that's super important. As we look at our young people who start the school year, a young man came up to me the other day, and I said to him, "Why do you look so happy?" He was like, "Because I could start the school year with an A." So imagine the kids who get A's all year and how they feel. Our job is to really, really get that feeling to go all year. And I'm happy that we could have this conversation and then point to ourselves and say, "Hey, we got to do better," while acknowledging from the folks who support us from close and afar that we could get this done. So I just wanted to lift that and really be gracious to our school counselors and then our staff, our nurses, our social workers, and all other folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we get that on camera? I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Okay, that was part of the